Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the very first live Red Dot Diva session for 2024. My goodness, time flies. It's already the new year. And I'm so excited to be able to kick off this year's live Red Dot Diva session again with a female guest. Ever since I started, it has always started the new year with a fellow woman creator. It's like I need to do that as a female. I feel that we need a platform and a platform and to be able to voice out our opinions and share our journey together. I think this is something that is personally important to me as well. So I would like to continue with that tradition. And I was just really glad to have someone whom I invited last year was like, yes, let's do this. And was like, yes, I'm so excited. So before I get my guests to come on stage, and I will be able to, go through this very special topic today that she has kind of shared with me that she would like to talk about. And I thought that would be an interesting topic as well. I would like to introduce myself for those who are not familiar with me. I'm Red Dot Diva, a lifestyle and pop culture blogger based in Singapore. I've been covering topics on entertainment, pop culture, and interviewing creators from overseas as well as in our region for many years. I think about this will be the 14th year that I'm doing this. And the live session was started during the pandemic, where I felt that when I was consuming a lot of YouTube, videos and all that on pop culture, on creative fields and talents that are out there, there were very few videos that were focusing on the talent that we have in Southeast Asia. Most of the Asian creators that you see are what are familiar with the Western world, those who are from Japan or Korea and maybe even China. And so I've just felt that there was this need to be able to showcase the many different Southeast Asian creators out there to the people who would stumble on my social media or this video in particular. So I've been doing that for about 3 years, and I'm so eager to continue it as long as I possibly can. And so today's first guest for 2024 is a Malaysian actor and performing artist, Grace Ng, and I'm going to bring her on stage right now. Hello, Grace. How are you today? And I know you have chosen this topic that has been close to your heart for some time, and I'm kind of like interested to, hear your journey as well. And for those who are not familiar, Grace Ng is based in Malaysia. You might have watched her in the Kuman films. It's an indie production company who has crowdfunded a film, a very interesting film on what the current state of affairs are, not only in Malaysia but in many parts of the world. It's called Pendatang, and if you're thinking that, oh no, I'm in the States, I'm in Australia and I can't watch this film. No, you're wrong. Pendatang is on YouTube for free. So you can watch that and appreciate Malaysian made films as well as enjoy Grace's performance on it. And Grace, could you maybe introduce yourself in your own words as well to the people who are watching?
Thank you, Tina. Thank you for doing this podcast and for going live. I'm not sure how many years have you been doing this for now.
The live stream is about 3 years, I think. Yeah.
I see. Okay, cool. But before I introduce myself, Tina, would you please give me permission to go quickly on my Instagram live, just really quickly? I just want to get some people into the live stream.
Yes, as many people as possible. I think this topic is very interesting, and I'm sure. Yeah,
it's Saturday at 2 p.m. Most people are out, but I know I have my my hermit friends who might be at home and okay, sometimes you want to stay at home on a Saturday, right? So I'm just going to reach out very quickly on Instagram. We're going to 3, 2, 1. Oh, we're going live. We're going live on something else that's live. Hello. I'm not sure what everyone's doing at 2 p.m. on a Saturday, but we'll see if anyone joins me on this live video. So far, there's no one yet. Oh, hi, Kyrie. Hello, Michael. Okay, there are people joining me. Okay, Hi, Amira. Oh my God, I haven't seen you for ages. I love your gym workouts, by the way. So, anyways, the reason why I'm going live is because I am speaking to a very lovely lady named Tina, and she's in Singapore right now. And so we are doing a conversation about my banana journey. Hi, Michael, and reclaiming my roots through my art. So right now, Tina is here. And overlooking us, we have. Can you see KLCC in the background?
Yes.
Okay, wait. Okay. Anyways, so Tina and I are kind of we are lonely. It's just the two of us. So if you want to join Tina and I and have this chat about myself and my career and other interesting, possibly interesting stuff. Hi, Jerica. Hello. And so please click on you can exit this live chat and then click on the link in my story. There's a link. The link is on your Instagram page, right, Tina?
The link is they can either go to Red Dot Diva YouTube
Mm-hmm.
and go to the live tab, or
Okay.
they can go to Red Dot Diva Facebook page,
Okay.
or they can go
But
to Red Dot Diva X.
oh, okay. But the link is the link for this live stream on the page itself, on your page, on your Instagram page
I
itself.
think when they go into the page, they will be able to see that directly on. Just go to
Okay.
the Red Dot Diva Facebook page
Okay. But
and
if
the
you want to join Tina and I on this live stream, it would be amazing if you can. Uh,
Mhm.
I wish it was on Instagram so it would be easier for you. But
Yeah, they
but
can
then
comment. They can comment on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube when they watch it. Type in our comments, and we'll be able to see that here live right now.
yeah, so if you want to click on my story, the story that I've posted, then you can come and join us. I will try to post the link, the live link itself,
They won't be able
directly.
to get into this StreamYard link though. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, no, that's only for the two of us.
So they can access it via YouTube and Facebook.
Yes, and type their
Okay, so you'll
comments,
be
and we'll
able
be able
to
to see.
access the live link via YouTube and Facebook. So if you guys want to do that, that would be amazing. Okay, I'm
Right.
gonna go
I
off
hope
now.
more people will join us.
Hope to see you there on either Facebook or YouTube live stream. Okay.
All right, and actually, Jonathan's here. Hi, Jonathan.
Yay,
Yo.
Jonathan! You're here! Oh my god, I'm so happy. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for joining, Jonathan. So yeah, I'm going to introduce myself. My name's Grace, and I am an actress and performing artist in Kuala Lumpur. I am 38 years old, which is not old and not young either. So yeah, I do a lot of different things in my career. I started out in theater. Actually, before I started out in theater, I was doing contemporary dance, and also I was a newsreader and a TV host on NTV7. And then after that, I started doing theater and
I
film.
have a picture of
And
you doing as a newsreader. I took a screenshot.
wow, yeah, throwback.
That was how long ago was that?
This was when I was. This was like maybe 13 years ago, possibly. Yeah, 12 or 13 years ago. Yeah, yeah. So it's pretty long time. Good
Did
times.
did that help you with your your current endeavors as a newsreader?
As in, did news reading help me with what
Yeah,
I'm doing now?
yeah.
No, no, I
No,
don't think
so it's
so.
totally
No.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think news reading was something that I it was something that I had always wanted to do when I was a kid, but I think it was more of like a bucket list thing that like, oh, this seems kind of cool. It's kind of cool to do this. And also it seemed that it was something that is respectable and something that my family would be proud of. So I just did that, and it was very like a bucket list thing because I was really good at it naturally. Yeah, but after I did it, it was kind of like, okay, check. Like
Uh-huh.
after the first few months of doing it, I kind of lost interest.
Mm-hmm.
But I was interested in following like the events of the country, like the more journalistic
Yeah,
side of it.
yeah,
And I did have the opportunity to be involved in that part
nice.
because
Yeah.
yeah, I got an opportunity to produce my own current affairs program
Oh, okay.
after about like 8 months working in the news station. So I started out as an assistant producer and a
Mm.
writer, and then eventually becoming a newsreader. And then after that, I got a chance to produce my own program. So
Oh,
that's where
nice.
I became more interested. And the news reading was just like
Stepping
something
stone. Yeah.
punch in, like you punch in
Yeah.
and punch out too.
Uh-huh.
So it's just like something, yeah. Because the newsreader, as an anchor, you only read the news, or at least in
Mm,
Malaysia, how it is. As
mm,
an anchor, you just read the news. You don't investigate, or you don't do the
mm,
hard hit stories. That's what the journalists do. But I
mm,
know in like other countries, like in US or Europe, I know that the anchors actually they
mm.
go out and get stories. So
Yeah, right. Some
yeah,
of them do. Yeah.
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 Like the CNN ones.
Mm.
Yeah. And how do you decide to, become more involved in your current craft as an actor and performing artist? After you had this production that you had in that channel, and then you decided to break away.
Yeah, I mean, I'd always wanted to be an actor, and but I just never thought that it was actually possible. Yeah,
Oh,
it just seemed like it was this faraway dream, and but news reading and TV hosting, that seemed practical because it seemed like it's something that is actually doable and can make you money and you can earn a living doing it.
yeah.
So I think it was actually it was actually a psychedelic experience that allowed me to kind of like embrace my real dream
Mm,
of what I wanted to do, which is becoming an actor. And so I think after 3 years of being in at NTV7, I handed in my resignation letter
mm, mm,
and I started pursuing my dream to become an actress.
mm. And how did that happen then? Do you have to go overseas to hone your craft, or?
I mean, I don't think it's necessary to actually study, but the route that I wanted to take was more of an artistic crafts
Mm,
person
mm, mm,
one. So, I mean, in hindsight, I could probably have done things two different ways. I mean, there's always the route of like just get into the industry first and just start working and work and learn on the job. But because of my personality, I think I'm more of like an artist type of personality. I was more interested in the craft of acting than I was in the
mm.
industry of
Yeah.
film, Hollywood, or whatever. I just wanted to learn the craft. And that's why I went to drama school um, in Australia. Yeah.
Right.
Which
And
is, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I think we're going to talk about a little
yes,
bit more. Yeah, because
um, I
Australia
suppose
was,
that experience there has, prompted some feelings or some,
yeah,
thoughts about
yeah.
being who you are.
Like I think when because my strategy when I went there, I had amassed a little bit of savings from my work years, about 5 years of working. So, but the savings I knew were not enough to pay for
Mm,
like a full drama school
yeah.
experience. So my strategy was this: if I can get into a school that is relatively famous, then it would be easier for me to ask for
Mm,
scholarship
mm, mm, mm,
or ask for funding. And so everything was very strategic. So I'm like, okay, what is the most famous school in Malaysia, the most famous drama school? And at that time, NIDA was the most famous drama school because Joe Hasham, who's our artistic director of KLTAC, he went to NIDA. And then a lot of celebrities are from there, like Kate Blanchett,
mm,
Sam
mm,
Worthington. Mel Gibson. So I felt that it would be an easy pitch to people, like going to go to the school. And true enough, I managed to get some funding, some private funding from business people in Malaysia that actually allowed me to do 1 year at NIDA, Australia. But I think if I did actually have the money, like let's say, if if I was someone in a situation where I had a lot of money,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone to NIDA.
Okay.
But because I knew that I didn't have money to pay for drama school, but I knew I knew I wanted to go anyway. So because NIDA was the most famous school in Malaysia at the time, which was about 2012. And when I went to NIDA, Australia, this was pre Crazy Rich Asians time.
Okay, yes.
Now Asians are so Michelle Yeoh, Henry Golding, or your Ronnie Cheng, whatever.
Yeah.
It's in to be Asian. Our
Before
accent,
before Asians became sexy in
exactly.
Hollywood.
Yeah, before Asians became sexy in
Yeah.
Hollywood. So when I was there, this was pre Crazy Rich Asians time, and they just didn't know what to do with me.
Oh,
They
but
didn't.
okay, my first question. Were there
Mm.
Asians there or were you like one out of thousand?
So so there was an Asian, because there were 20 of us in the ensemble.
Okay.
There was one Asian, but he was Asian Australian, so he had
Okay.
been living in Australia pretty much,
Assimilated, yeah.
yeah, pretty much his whole life.
Mm.
But he was originally from China, so his parents were immigrants from China. But then he has an Australian accent.
Yeah, yeah,
He's pretty much Australian
yeah.
for the most part. Yeah, even though he looks Chinese. Mm.
So when you're saying that they didn't know what to do with you, what did you actually mean in particular?
Um, I think also because they didn't know where to place me
Mm.
in the industry,
Okay.
because in my class there was this girl with the tall, beautiful blonde Australian, the typical
Mhm.
beautiful
Yeah,
blonde white Australian.
yeah,
Then obviously, so she would get the role of, like, if we're staging a play, like a Shakespearean play, so she would be the role of the queen,
yeah,
right? Obvious casting wise. And then you have your a typical, Australian masculine, so he
yeah.
would be the king.
King.
Then, yeah, you had your there were indigenous people as well, and
Yes.
so there was a girl from New Zealand, Australia. Sorry, from New Zealand, from Tonga, I think.
Yeah.
Pacific
Pacific
Islanders.
Islanders. Yeah.
Islanders. So they would be the maybe the more comedic roles. So bear in mind, this is 2012, where,
Yeah.
but our school, NIDA, was the very first to actually get on the colorblind
Yeah.
casting trend. Now
Uh-huh.
it's a trend everywhere, but this was in 2012. So we're talking about very different times here.
Yes, they're
Um,
very different to those who are just very young. This is very
Correct.
different.
Because the year before me, the 20 ensemble members, everyone was just typical white
Mm.
Australian. But with my year was the first year that they started experimenting with people with indigenous people. So I think we had two Aborigines in the class, and then we had there was an Italian, like me, like a Malaysian or Southeast Asian, someone from China. So it was a very mixed group, but still, despite us being in this mixed group, the the casting directors or the casting, they just didn't really know what to do with me. So I ended up playing a lot of comedic roles. Um, yeah, and also in terms of like the voice classes that we had,
Mm.
uh, they adjusted my speech to have like a more white or Western accent. Yeah, whereas a lot of TV or like drama that I see now, where Asians are preserving their Asian accent,
Yeah,
it sounds really good.
yeah. I think
It's
it's
like
more genuine.
more genuine. They preserve the Asian accent and they highlight it, in fact. But for when we were doing voice classes, like I remember I had to work extra hard because the teacher was telling me, like, okay, because you have to work extra hard compared to everyone else because there's a lot of aspects of your speech which are so Malaysian.
Mm.
And when I think back on it, I'm like, did I? Did I really have to do that? Like uh, I spent so many years trying to undo my natural Malaysian accent. Um,
Mm.
but in retrospect, after thinking about everything, I feel like I don't regret it because I had to undo my Malaysian accent. So now I'm essentially like more aware of my I'm more aware now of my accent than I was before. And then combining the benefits of the Western accent with the benefits of the Asian or
Mm.
the
Mm.
authenticity of the Asian accent, I feel like I can achieve like the best of both worlds. Because
Nice.
usually like Malaysians, yeah, I'm gonna like change my resignation to like Malaysia, we all talk like this. Usually Malaysia, we hold a lot of our or even Singaporean, like Singaporean like even worse because we hold a lot of like tension in our throat here. Then we talk also like we use our voice when we talk. So a lot of like everything is like in the throat, for example.
Right.
I
Yes.
can combine I can bring my voice forward and combine the Singaporean accent so I can still speak like Singaporean, but I'm speaking with my chest and my head resonator as well. So I can still be Singaporean, but I'm very obviously Singaporean. Then it becomes very like so even though I regret it because I didn't have that awareness of what I know now. So
Mm. Mm.
back then what it made me feel was the only thing it made me feel was shame about my culture
Yeah,
and about
correct.
my
Yeah.
heritage.
Yeah.
I didn't have the at that time I was too young to know what I know now and have this thinking of like, okay, this is where our industry is heading, this is the history of our industry, the connectedness of like how we like the global trends in film, in theater and everything. I didn't have this awareness. I just wanted to follow my passion. That was all I was thinking
Mm.
about. And
Yes.
then there were these teachers who were making me feel that my natural accent is a bad thing,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we go deep into the topic, and if you're not familiar with the term banana, it just means that white on the inside, yellow on the outside. And I think for many of us who grow in westernized culture, somehow in Asian country, we we might be called that once or twice or many times during our lifetime. And the other phrase that I know I faced so many times before is jiak kantang, which is literally translated as eating potatoes, because they only think that the white people eat potatoes and Asian
Oh,
people don't eat potatoes.
I've never heard that one before. Okay,
Yeah, I
cool.
don't know. Yeah, yeah, I get called that a lot when I was younger. It's much
Oh,
less so now. It wasn't so
okay.
much banana. We don't get called banana a lot here. I think in Singapore, we always time say that one jiak kantang one, which is like she's westernized, not very Chinese or Asian.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. And so this is going to be our topic for today. And I think we have probably many experiences to share. It was something that came from Grace. Actually, she felt that she really needed to speak about this. And I said, yeah, why not? Because I think I'm a banana Jakarta also for since I was young. I really, really was curious as to find. I know you explained about the feeling of the shame, right? When you go into a very, very white or westernized country whereby they have an expectation of what it means for an English speaking person to act and to sound like. Um, and and you were so much younger at that point. So when was that turning point that I feel that there has to be more to this. I mean, why should I be questioned about how I sound like, or
Mm,
why what? There's nothing wrong with accents per se. I feel, so long as people are able to understand you, you know. I think I'm proud of my Singaporean accent, although it's not the very, very Singaporean accent. I can code switch quite well too. My family didn't speak in the very typically Singlish way, and so
mm,
therefore I don't use la a lot as well. But I can do that, you know. And but when I speak, like way I speak now, when we met guests who are from the US or from the UK, and I think there was a toy designer who was American Taiwanese, and then he was like, "Oh my gosh, I miss you guys so much because I hear the Singlish accent." And you know, I'm okay. It's fine. I'm proud of it. I think I'll claim the Singaporean accent. It's fine with me. So I was also curious to find out when was the turning point where you decided that I want to find. I think I want to, as you said, reclaim. You know, my roots. In your journey as becoming an actor, during your journey as an actor.
yeah, thanks for mentioning that. I mean, about the Taiwanese American toy
Yeah.
maker. I feel like one of the functions of accents, and like when you hear an accent, it can make you feel like home. If you
Yeah.
hear a familiar accent, you could be like in Antarctica, the tour, and when you hear a Malaysian accent, whatever homesickness you've been feeling, it just goes away. It's very
Yeah.
powerful.
Very,
Speech,
yeah, very
it's very
powerful. I
powerful. It's
didn't
very
realize as well how powerful until I was just traveling. I usually do a lot of solo trips, and I was in Prague. So,
mm,
and the Airbnb owner, they say, "Hey, you know, this room is going to be taken up by two Singaporean, one Singaporean girls, two Asian girls, one is Singaporean." And I said, "Oh, okay." And I bumped into them somehow when I was coming back into the Airbnb, and she's like, "Oh, you're Singaporean. I miss that accent so much." It's like, I've been in Germany, in Berlin for a long time, and you know, it's like I feel like I'm home, as you said. You know, it's like, and then we started. She like wanted to connect because she missed home so much.
mm. Yeah, so yeah, and back to answering your question. So for me, the I'm not sure exactly when the turning point was, but then also there has been a trend called decolonization. I'm not sure exactly how it started. I think definitely I need to do a little bit more research on that. But I did start to notice like a lot of my artist friends,
Mm,
especially in the visual arts, they were talking about decolonization.
mm.
And then when I asked them more, then they explained to me what it was. So basically, um, colonization, uh, Western colonizers, they have had their impact on like Africa,
Yeah.
in Asia and everything like that.
Yes.
And I think it was the comedian, what's his name, Trevor Noah, that mentioned this: colonization and colonizing a country and conquering a country is different. Because when
Yeah.
you conquer a country, you just come into a country and you just bang, 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 everything's mine,
Yes.
haha.
Yeah.
But colonization, it's like, okay, I'm going to stay here and then I'm going to make you become like
Binami.
me.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a different level of messed upness. Like
Yes,
conquering is
it
one,
is.
is something else. And I realized like a lot of how, when I first started doing theater in Malaysia, there was so much glorification of being able to speak like an English person.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so I still remember like a play I watched, and then there was this woman who she can't really act very well, but she always got jobs as an actress because she spoke like this. She would
Oh,
always talk in a British accent, and everyone thought that it was the standard of theatre. And it was only because of her ability to speak in this manner that landed her jobs on the stage. She could not act. So, I as a kid, as a very simple kid who I mean, my family has just a really, really simple background. And so when I saw that on stage, I was like, oh, if I want to be an actor, I need to be able to speak in the Ang Mo way. And so there was this glorification. And this is not an individual case. This has happened because of colonization in England, the British colonizers in
Yes.
Malaysia and Singapore.
Yeah.
And it happens in India as well.
Yes.
So, but recently,
Yes.
I think maybe like where I noticed it maybe 5 years ago that my friends started to talk about decolonization. So there is this trend now of trying to free the mind of the whatever the colonizers have given to us. And so I think the more people started hopping onto this decolonization bandwagon and the more artists started doing it, uh, I feel like then everything that I had thought before, that Western supremacy and everything, I was like, wow, I've been believing a lie for the longest time ever. And when
Mm,
that awareness came in, it was very empowering, and it coincided, of course, with the rise of Asian cinema, and of not just of Asian cinema, because Asian cinema has always been great,
yeah,
but
it has always been around.
the Western world now paying attention to Asian cinema and saying that, oh yeah, Asian cinema is great. Like, guys, where have we been all this while? Um,
Yeah.
so
They're
yeah,
still complaining though because they have to watch it with subtitles. Like, why should I read and watch at the same time?
interesting, interesting.
Yeah, I
I'm also
mean,
happy that in a way, like, there is some kind of like reverse colonization going on, because I see a lot of people now, like young people from Europe or the US or whatever, and it is actually a sign of how cool you are. Like, if
yeah,
you know how to speak Chinese, or if you know how to speak Japanese, or if you know, like, if you've been to and if you've lived in like Peru for like 5 years or India for 5 years, like, people respect you more. Like, it's seen as cool. But I mean, like, I guess in a way that's kind of like a reverse colonialism, which
I feel like the reverse colonialism is somehow still in they uh they still I don't know, maybe I'm a devil's advocate, but it still has the smidgen of exoticism though. It's always like India, China, Japan, Korea. And then they have this perception that our region is like everyone live in trees, still like
mm,
low class, not very developed. Which is the reason of this channel in the first place, because I feel that our talent here has been ignored for way too long. And well, it's one step. I do agree that it's a good thing. Maybe soon they will realize that there's even more to Asianness and not just the Far East kind of Asian around us. That there's a way more. Asia itself is such a huge continent with many different cultures, and we look very different from each other as well. Uh,
mm,
of course, if you're talking about the Chinese diaspora, we are all over the world.
that's true.
Just all over you can find the Chinese everywhere. And also, uh, how do you end up, like, did people call you banana, or did you realize when do you realize that you actually was a banana?
Oh, I mean, from very, very, very young, because I have a lot of friends. Like, in school, I had my group of friends. We can only speak English, and then the rest of a lot of the other people in school, they spoke Cantonese, Mandarin, everything. Then like, every time I wanted to know how to sing a Chinese song, then I will go to them and, can you write down for me how to sing? Then they will teach me how to sing. And so it was a very nice exchange. And then I think in school, like, no one ever shamed me for being a banana. I just knew, like,
Mm-mm-mm.
okay, this is who I am. I am a banana
Mm.
because my parents spoke English to me as I grew up.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, and then but then back then, people actually looked up to me because I knew how to speak English. So they would actually ask me for help in like how Grace, how do you say this in English? How what's the correct way of pronouncing this? So it actually during school time it was a very nice exchange. And then I think when I was 16, I made a conscious effort that I wanted to self learn Chinese.
Mm,
That's when I bought all the books and then started doing my writing. And so it was, yeah, the self learning process started when I was about 16.
mm. Okay, maybe I'm not so familiar with the education system in Malaysia, right? So when you're talking about the school that you went to, it was uh, conducted in Malay or
Yeah,
English?
Malay school. Malay
Yeah.
school.
So then your the language that you had to learn, which was actually the first language Malay, right? And
Mm.
then did you all have to have a second language? Or do
Um,
you all take the second language? Let's say, so the Chinese folks who were fluent in, let's say, Mandarin or what, were they took it up because of their family for one thing, but did they learn it as well, like the official way
Yeah,
somewhere
they did.
else?
So you can choose to take Chinese in your SPM. SPM and PMR, which is the two major examinations in
Mm,
secondary school. So if you want, you can take Chinese for Form 3 and for Form 5 exams. So there were some people, I would say like in terms of the whole school, maybe like about 10 to 15% of Chinese took the SPM,
mm.
took the Chinese exam.
Okay, yeah, because it's different over here, whereby our instruction is all in English, whereby they decided that they want to have everybody on almost equal ground, right? So all the races, all the instructions in English, and then
Mm,
your mother tongue is actually so-called mother tongue is your second language. So the Malays will choose Malay, the Indians mother tongue official is Tamil, so they have to learn their Gujarati or whatever outside of school hours. And then for Chinese, right, we have so many dialects, and then they have this Speak Mandarin campaign, and they force us to learn Mandarin as a second language, and they call it to adopt it as your mother tongue. Unfortunately, this is where the problem come in, and where this banana-ness happens in Singapore, because um, I come from a majority, like maybe three quarters or 75% Peranakan household, and my granddad is 100% Peranakan on my mother's side, and they spoke their Peranakan Malay right in the household, and then when he goes to work, he's speaking English, and as you say, it's colonized still around that time, trying to divorce from Britain. And so the upbringing is still like, if you can speak English very well, you get more job opportunities. And the Peranakan has always been found to be closest to the British in terms of that. They strategically learned and spoke very good English so that they could get official jobs in the British government or something like that to earn better living for their families. And that's how it happened that we spoke English, because my mom spoke English as well, and um, we didn't really officially have a Chinese dialect. Maybe it could be Hokkien, because Peranakan sometimes speak a mix of Malay Hokkien. My father was from a Hokkien family, but funnily enough, he was one of the first sons that my paternal granddad decided to send to a mission school, which is a Presbyterian boys' school, and everything was English fight as well. And so his Chinese wasn't very good. So that's what happened. You see, all English speaking in the household, and we could probably identify with Hokkien as one of the dialects. But when they decided to have the Speak Mandarin campaign for all Chinese, regardless of your dialect, I think we lost a huge part of our cultural identity as a dialect group, because each dialect has their special culture, even though you're Chinese. But you have your special culture, your special food, your special beliefs as well. And then, it was all lost in the name of Mandarin, which is a North Chinese dialect that we don't identify with because most of the immigrants here are from South China, right?
Mm.
They come from Canton, Fujian, or Swatao or something like this. It's not our culture to learn Mandarin. And we were forced to that as a second language. So my struggle began in primary school because no matter how hard I tried to learn how to speak Mandarin or understand it very well, it was not possible because my family didn't speak it. It's not their language. It's not, they could be Peranakan or Chinese, but it was not their language. You talk about my father's family, it would be Hokkien is their language, not Mandarin. And I think my generation found that so much of a struggle with Mandarin. Unless you are really from a household that speaks Mandarin already, which was really rare because you will speak Teochew, you will speak Cantonese Hakka, but not Mandarin, right? And they stopped all broadcasts, radio broadcasts. I think only left Radio Fusion, which is like a long, I can't remember shortwave or long wave. But the official radio stations and TV stopped that all dialects, like hard stop,
Mm.
like cannot ban. And it was forced people to learn Mandarin. Uh, so we became like for some of us, or maybe for the next few generations, it's very difficult for someone to be bilingual proficiently. You either have to choose one, uh, good in English or good in your Chinese, right? Uh, and so that's the case. I tried so hard. I had tuitions for 10 over years, and I couldn't nap Mandarin. It was not part of me. I felt one thing I found very interesting about this topic, as a like a banana. One of the ways I feel is that I can be both, I guess. You can call me a banana, but still my identity is Peranakan Chinese, I guess. And um, maybe for Singapore, it's a bit different as well. I can't say that racial lines don't happen, or misunderstandings don't happen, but the official stand has been that we don't go for this, right? We don't allow these kind of things to get too strong that it becomes so political based on race alone. So everybody's opening stance is English. No choice,
Mm.
right? So
Do you
I got no
do you
choice
think
but to be a gantang. Gantang. We consume a lot of westernized content because of that as well. Even though we have four different channels, right? So we have a mix. I think Singaporeans have a balance, uh, a balance of the two worlds. We kind of like straddle in between. Um, One of the reasons why I find that you feel very strongly as well because you have lived overseas and I haven't. So I suppose that if I have lived overseas and faced the reverse, I think I will feel very strongly about that as well. Like what's my cultural identity? Uh, what's wrong with being a Chinese Asian in Singapore who speaks English with an accent or
Mm.
who acts differently or thinks differently, not in the Western world. But yeah, I think that may be a difference between the Malaysians' story and the Singaporeans' story. Uh,
Mm.
I think not being the majority race has that effect as well because the Chinese there have to fight to make a like you really need to fight to be known or seen. I think in a way, whereas by here the majority races may face that reverse scenario. They might need to fight to to be seen. So that would be interesting as well if somebody is not a Chinese in Singapore, whether they've been called something else, coconut, I don't know, or something, and what that feels like. That might be interesting to see as well,
I'm
and to
curious. You,
hear.
you, you mentioned that in Singapore, everyone like during this at school, you are required to learn your second language, right? Is it compulsory for everyone?
Compulsory.
Okay.
Compulsory, and that's why we always say that no, it's very difficult to be bilingual proficiently for everyone. Not everybody is good in languages, so you may be okay with your, you might be very good in your Chinese, right? But maybe your English sucks, right? Because your
So,
family speaks a lot of
but
Mandarin.
then for the learning the Chinese as a second language, were you allowed to like Hokkien or Hakka or Teochew or everybody just Mandarin?
That's why I said the forced learning as Mandarin, adopting a Mandarin as your mother tongue, which I believe is a false notion because it's not my mother tongue. The dialect
Actually,
is our mother tongue.
Mandarin is actually no one's mother tongue.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
It's
Yeah,
a created language by
yeah.
the
It's no
imperial system.
one mother tongue. It's actually a
Yeah,
northern, yeah, northern Chinese official language, right?
yeah,
That they use in the palace or whatever.
yeah. It's an
Um,
imperial language.
yeah.
So, but I
So
think
that's why we,
it's quite interesting to note like that for I would say maybe for Singaporeans or like maybe even Taiwanese or even people those from mainland China, the kind of like colonialism they face is almost different. It's like there's almost two layers of it. There's
yeah,
the
that's
yeah because
yeah.
you are taught like Mandarin Chinese. You're colonized by that, and with that comes like Confucian system of thinking as well, Taoist ways of thought. Then you're colonized by that, and then you're also colonized by the Western system. So like you're double colonized.
So now you know why Singaporeans are messed up. But anyway, no, I mean,
Maybe.
yeah, but I mean, I think we are comfortable with that in a way. This is why Singapore as a whole, I mean, politically or business wise, adopts an open stance in terms of economy. We have always been the crossroads of that juncture between the east and west. So no choice lah. Basically, um, for me, I don't, okay, you can call me a banana, jiakantao, but I don't treat it as something like is a bad thing because this is who I am and this is what it is for
Mm,
most of us. Even now, right, I don't think a child can be very good in two languages. It'd be very rare. Lah. I mean, not say good, I mean very good in two languages, right? You'll be definitely better in one than the
yeah,
other.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I also
definitely.
feel like for someone who like, for example, like if they speak Mandarin very well, but then let's say they are originally Cantonese, but they don't know how to speak Cantonese, and if they still call you Jakantang, I think it's quite unfair because they also forgot their roots,
It's
which is
true. Yeah.
Cantonese. Yeah, they are
Yeah,
Cantonese
well, and
roots,
it's
which is
very sad
actually they
because
are.
yeah, it's very sad because a huge maybe two generations of people have lost their actual roots because they can't speak their dialect anymore. Some are becoming rare, uh, and it's quite sad, like, especially like the Hakka because their population has always been a bit smaller here. Nobody really speaks Hakka anymore, and it's kind of rare. So for me, even though my Hokkien is not the best level, it's probably Pasa Hokkien.
Mm,
And even though when I speak Hokkien, right, I a bit like normal phrases, right? Like my sister who's 5 years younger than me, she can't her understanding of Hokkien is even less than me. So you
that's
can
sad.
see like
That's
yeah,
sad.
yeah, it's very sad, right? So, like when you speak Hokkien now, I think most of them maybe learn from their NS and natural service for the guys or whatever, if they have an elder person still around there. But I think
Mm,
it's quite sad that that language is getting quite rare in Singapore nowadays. But
mm,
funnily enough, I have noticed a reverse trend. I do not know who started this uh, lately, and I do not know whether it has something to do with politics as well, because of how China and Singapore's relationship has always been like, you know, up and down, up and down. They always want to adopt us as that, like, oh, must recognize China as motherland, but we are saying, no, hello, we are a sovereign nation. Even though majority Chinese, hello, so I do not know lah, whether it's this or something else, or there were a lot of feedback. But that day I was in MRT, okay, and the announcements, right? The usual announcement, and there was a Hokkien announcement.
Mm.
Yeah. So I was
Interesting.
like,
Very.
yeah. Then I was like, hey, when did that happen? Yeah.
Mm.
When did
But
that
I
happen?
feel there's a lot of film and indie films that I see coming out from Singapore. There are quite a number that use Teochew and Hokkien. So I
That's the
quite like
thing,
that.
man.
I quite
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
And
Because
I
for
think
me,
it creeps
the way
in.
I see Singapore is I always see Singapore as a Hokkien Teochew place.
It
That
is.
is my perception of Singapore.
You're
Yeah,
not
yeah, it
wrong, though. You're not wrong, though. So, other than that, what was an interesting, other profound or interesting things you discovered when you were, trying to reclaim your roots?
I think the very first moment that I had like a strong realization was when I wanted to start doing more like Chinese
Mm,
TV series and whatever because yeah. So anyways, I got a friend to help me out. So he is one of those rare people that is amazing at both English and Chinese, very good at it. And so he kind of got me to do some breathing exercises and guided me through like Chinese speaking. And then he got me to write a monologue in Chinese. And I realized that when I was reciting that monologue, right, it was very, very easy for me to express myself. And a lot of the emotions that came out from speaking Chinese, I would never have gotten there doing the exact same monologue in English.
mm,
Yeah, so that's when I discovered that okay, there's something here and I need to start acting in Chinese because it's going to unlock another part of me. It's going to help me to find a lot of truths that I had ignored so
mm.
far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah. I think the Chinese language is very descriptive, though. There are a lot of things that you can't describe in English. You if you use Chinese, you can describe it better
Mm.
in a
Yeah, yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And because Chinese is a tonal language, right? And the tones of speaking it are passed down. So when you enter into the stream of that tone, right, it it connects you with your past and with
Mm,
the future. I know it all sounds very like I don't know, very airy fairy right now and very like, oh, it's so deep and whatever and conceptual. But coming from someone who never really had like I didn't grow up speaking Chinese from when I was young. So
yeah.
when I started speaking Chinese when at
Mm,
this age,
mm,
I'm like, wow, there's so much of like emotions of things that
mm,
I feel now that I know how to speak Chinese that I would never have gotten there if I just stayed in the English speaking world. And what I notice about acting in Chinese versus acting in English, English is a very thought-based language, and even from the way that people operate, like the English-speaking
mm.
world operates, they are more in their
Straight
head.
line. Yeah.
Yeah, with how they engage with each other, and then uh, Chinese is more it's tonal and it's very rooted in it's very body. So it's there's something inside it like when you speak like speaking Cantonese, there's a certain tone of Cantonese, right? That when you reach down into it, like it will make you feel a certain way. And English doesn't really have that. It's not a feeling language.
Yeah. That's why
So I
everybody around the world can pick up English, right? It's not that
yeah,
emotional.
correct. Correct. Easy to pick up. And I can
Yeah.
see now why like English is almost like the global
Business
language.
language,
Because,
yeah.
yeah, it's a very like intellectual
Yeah, yeah.
thinking kind of language.
Mm.
Whereas I feel like even something like Arabic, right, is also a very like it
Oh,
comes
a
from
lot of feeling one.
yeah, a lot of feeling, exactly, exactly. Uh,
Even Malay,
yeah,
Malay is very emotional. So when you listen to the Malays speak, although I'm not good in Malay, but you can hear the emotion from the language. Even when you read the text of the Malay language, it has beauty in it. Yeah. There's a kind of like flow.
Malay is a rhythmic language.
Yeah.
It's
So you,
rhythmic. Yeah, and like Hindi also very yeah, also quite
mm.
rhythmic.
So I
Really,
guess that opened the doors to like being able to connect um, like our cultural history and then the language itself, and then being able to express that through your art. I suppose that's what happened.
yeah. So I think now it has definitely made me a lot more interested in language, because for quite a long time, I of doing theater in Malaysia, I just completely moved to movement, physical theater, and dance
Mm,
because I didn't like the English speaking theater scene in Malaysia. I just felt that there was a lot of things that were just not genuine because
mm,
during that time we were using a lot of Angmo texts. So we were adapting, we were taking texts from people who were writing work in LA or US or wherever, and then we were
mm, mm,
acting it out on stages in Malaysia. And I felt
mm,
so weird doing it. It was so
mm,
weird.
mm,
I didn't know what accent to use, and
mm.
it was just weird. And because
Ha-
we
Have,
didn't have any awareness of while we were doing it, we didn't have awareness of what we know now. But I
yeah.
know that recently, so Christopher Ling, who's a well-known theatre director in Malaysia, he redirected A Christmas Carol, I think 2 years ago, and he changed the script a little bit to include Sabahan and Sarawak accents.
Oh, okay.
He Yeah, so things like this now the theatre scene is becoming more aware of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate it now. But last time we had no clue what we were
Mm.
doing.
Oh, so this is something new in Malaysian theatre because I think in Singapore theatre it has been happening quite some time, whereby they actually re-adapt certain parts of the play to include
I
very
realized
Singaporean aspects.
you guys are good at it, and the Singapore theatre scene, right, has a lot of Singaporean plays. And
Mm,
whenever I
yes,
go to Singapore, I see on stage the
yeah,
Singaporean plays, they are doing Singaporean
yes,
text, which I
yes,
love. Yeah.
yes. But I like the way that they're able to make it still accessible to people who are not Singaporeans. Basically, you can straddle both sides, which is why I say Singaporeans are kind of messed up, but we are good at it.
I think it's a
um,
good thing, actually. Yeah.
and
For
yeah, it's a good thing. I have a comment from Api, who is a writer, and he said the best reason for that I found is that Semitic languages are a philosophical, abstract language, whereas Latin English language is a technical, pragmatic
Oh,
language. It's true though.
wow. Oh, yeah, actually. Wow, that's really true. Damn. Thanks for your comment. What was his name? Your
Api,
friend? Api. Yeah. Oh, thank you for that comment. It really gave me something to, yeah. What is it? English is a technical language, is it?
yes,
Mm, yeah.
technical and pragmatic.
Yes. Yes. Wow. So interesting.
He says that he has translated text both ways for years.
Mm, thank you. Thanks for that comment. It's a very good insight.
Okay. I think we are about hitting, but let's stay on for maybe 10, 15 minutes while we
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about Malaysian films because that's so interesting. There's this, I feel that there's been a resurgence in the last 2 or 3 years or so across the border. And if you have any questions, guys, those who are watching in, please post. And if I can see them, I'll pop them up on a screen. And while you're doing that, thinking of questions to ask Grace, we'll discuss about Malaysian films. And I got to know about Kuman pictures because on Twitter I kind of like found them and then like okay, very interesting. There's this indie film production company called Kuman and they've been doing more like some of them have been horror but not very horror, like straddling in between the supernatural and uh, many of concept of evil rather. When they had roll out in Netflix, my gosh, that kind of exploded on Twitter at that time. Even the Westerners who started to watch role because it came out as like a horror under the horror genre, and then they were like, "This is so creepy," not much said, but the atmospheric part of it was creepy enough, and that was the first time a lot of people noticed about Malaysian films, though. Um, I'm not talking about those around the region here, but those outside, maybe in the US or UK who will stumble on the Netflix film. And then, so I've been following them, and then I did see them post about the crowdfunded Pendatang. Uh, I didn't really follow through most of what happened in the end until the explosion about, oh no, we're going to decide to bypass the censors and, put it on YouTube for free. And then it just exploded again. Like a lot of people started watching. I think a lot of Malaysians felt it was a message that was very close to your heart. How did you get involved with this project? I think this project needs to have more people, like, we need to know about this Pendatang movie. When I watched
Mm,
it as a Singaporean, of course, as I said, even though we are just like across the border, due to the different experiences since the politicians at that time decided to part ways in 1965, you know, both sides have different experiences of their own, and it's not that there is no racial tension in Singapore. There is always that underlying, you know, I shouldn't say argument, but there's always some people who will try to create trouble, or some people who are saying things that are very stereotypical and are not right, maybe old fashioned, and not willing to change not willing to have an open mind to see other aspects, of our relationship with each other. Uh, I think race itself also is not a true thing. Lah. There's only one human race. But they like to talk about race here in Singapore and Malaysia. So when I saw that, it's like, this is not far from that not happening in Singapore actually. If
mm,
we and our politicians want to go and play racial politics in a
mm,
big way, okay? Right here now, the stance is that this is not going to fly. We are not going to let this happen because we're such a small country and the people are our resources. If we do that and we destroy ourselves, we are gone. You're definitely gone. I think if you look deep into our own history, we know that this is a rock that is really shaky and always has to be treated with nuance and a balance to it. I'm glad that so far it has been almost, okay. But if someone, a troublemaker, decide to do that, Pendatang can happen. What happened in the movie can happen in Singapore, but the island is very small, but it still can happen. Maybe in another different form. So I'm really curious, like how do you get involved in this project? What was the movie filming experience like? And um, when you were doing it, how did you feel filming that movie on this particular topic?
mm. So I got to know about it from a press release. And then when they mentioned that they were doing crowd-funded film, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And then when I saw the topic, what they were talking about, like the topic of the film, I immediately jumped at it. I was so excited because in Malaysia, because of our censorship, I'm sure you've heard about the Mentega Terbang film and how it's being banned in Malaysia and how the producers are facing jail charges and everything.
Mm,
It's absolutely ridiculous. So sometimes I feel like in Malaysia we don't get to create works of film that that addresses important things and that can actually shape our history. We don't
mm,
have that chance because we are so scared of the censorship. So when I heard that it was crowd-funded specifically so to avoid the censors, I was like, yeah, okay, this film is really cool. I didn't think that I would be in it. I really,
mm,
really didn't think so
okay.
because I just just very excited. I was just like, I want to support this film no matter what. And then I remember it was like a few days more to the crowdfunding deadline, and they still was at like 60% or something. So I posted up on my Instagram, I shared it on my stories and everything. And that reel itself gained a lot of traction. So I feel like, I mean, there's a lot of reasons as to why Kuman Pictures managed to get the crowdfunding right till the end. But I feel like, okay, I'm happy that I at least played my part in making the film happen and getting it crowdfunded. I did not expect to act in it. Because when I read the audition notice, they were like, oh, we are looking for these so and so characters, and the girl who I played Botak, she is in her 20s. So I was like 20s, and then also Cantonese speaking. So so they were looking for someone who is fluent, who could speak Cantonese. I'm like, yeah, that's not me. My Cantonese is not great.
Mm-mm.
So I didn't send in my audition tape, but the one of the producers actually messaged me, and she was like, Grace, are you going to send your audition? And I'm like, oh, but I don't speak Cantonese. Then I was like, then she was like, oh, maybe you can just try and then let the director take a look. And so I contacted one of my friends. I was like, hey, Esther, can you help me with my audition? And then she was like, oh, my Cantonese also not so good lah. My Mandarin, good at Mandarin. Then she was like, oh, yeah, just try lah. So I just tried it. And then yeah, I was very surprised that the director reached out. He was like, okay, in order to get this role, you would need to do two things, which is number one, shave your head, and number two, brush up on your Cantonese. So I'm like, okay, let's just do it. I decided to just take the plunge because I believe so much in the film, and for the opportunity to be a part of history, of Malaysian film
Yeah,
history, it was an opportunity that I couldn't miss lah. So
yeah. It's
I
a
just
really
decided,
good film.
yeah, even though it was the challenge to learn Cantonese and to get my Cantonese up to scratch to be able to act, it was very, very challenging. Yeah, it was really challenging, but yeah, I managed to do it, and there were no obvious complaints about my Cantonese. So I
Mm.
think it was all right.
What was the most or most memorable um, comment that you got from people who have watched this film? Looking
I
back.
okay, I haven't really looked at much of the comments because I just in general I don't like looking at comments. But one of the our producer James, he was like, hey, there's one comment that reads like, ooh, Botak is fine. So I was like, okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm glad that they included women in their insurgents. You know, if not, they'll be
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh
yeah, yeah.
man,
Correct. Yeah, I think that's quite
right?
true. She's supposed to be the wild card character.
Yeah, well, cut.
But I mean, I feel like in retrospect, I wished I had relaxed more about the Cantonese and been more forgiving towards myself and concentrated a lot more on the acting aspect of
Mm,
it.
mm,
I think it was just really hard for me to not be afraid because I am representing an entire uh, an entire clan of people, which is the Cantonese people. And I was so afraid that someone was going to be like, her Cantonese sucks. Oh my God, it's terrible. Like, oh my God, like, I really don't want that to happen. Like, I need to honor it. You know, I was so obsessed with honoring the Cantonese language. Yeah, but I'm glad that because of the very good people. Our producer, the one who was Gabriel, so she was really great, and then the rest of the actors, just working off of them, it was very comforting lah. They helped me a lot. They really did.
mm.
Um, yeah, so I think despite the challenges of it, and also the challenge of playing this particular character because she's very complex,
Yeah,
and there's a lot
conflicted as well.
and there's a lot of burden on her shoulders. So even the way she moves, also it's very heavy. Uh,
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think yeah, the movie is yeah, it touched my heart. I think it resonated
No, that's
very
great.
well.
That's great. I'm glad to
Mm.
hear that.
I mean, I do check out on Malaysian politics a lot. I have Malaysian friends, and
Mm,
sometimes the things that happen there is kind of sad. And but we can't rest on our laurels as well over this side of the world. It can happen to us the same way as it is happening to a lot of places. It's
yeah, yeah.
such a we call it fragile kind of relationship with each other, which I find that it's not necessary. We are all humans. Treat each other with respect and just some empathy and humanity.
Mm,
But for some people, it's just a
yeah.
lot of misgivings and a lot of like I don't know lah. I don't know why.
I feel
I
a
know
lot, a lot of
Jonathan
what
says Datang experiences. The only Singaporean actor in the crew, right?
we were joking about like the if there was a sequel, right? Like Pendatang, no
Two,
prequel,
prequel.
Pendatang, the origins, right?
Uh,
About how the Singaporean guy
ended up there.
in the film, his name is Musolo. So how did Musolo end up in Malaysia? Was because he went backpacking, like he went backpacking in Malaysia, and then after that he just ended up getting stuck there. And then we were saying like, why? He took
And
he
then
took bus,
decided to grow a beard.
took bus from Johor, and then ended up in Malaysia, and after that cannot go back.
So Jonathan, he's also in the cast for Pendatang, by the way. He's called the Beard Man, and I laugh at that. He said, "I'm the one that spoke broken Cantonese, not Grace. Grace is great. She was singing Cantonese songs during one of our offshoot days."
Oh man, but yes, it was the experience was a really good one. Yeah,
Mm,
even though unfortunately I was actually sick on the day that I had to shoot my scene, like my main scene. I was actually really sick on that day, but still it was a very family kind of vibe that we had on set.
that's nice. That's nice. I hope to see more of this kind of like thoughtful and something that will bring a lot of discussion to the table. I think this kind of
Mm,
films move us because I think I agree as well. In the past, Singaporeans are really very afraid of the censorship, but they were coming down really strong as well. With a wooden hammer, or smack. You cannot talk
what
about
do
this.
Singaporeans like to censor? Like, what is sensitive for them?
Yeah, race thing is quite sensitive. Yeah, I think they're sensitive about the last time LGBT stuff. Why we see the TV, right? Some episodes when the US, let's say, has a gay couple, then censored.
Oh,
Or
okay,
either
okay.
that the episode doesn't get shown, then like this story, how come suddenly jump one episode? Yeah. Or
Right.
I think yeah, they are also more conservative on the sexual scenes. But
Mm,
now being open with streaming and all that, they can't be that stringent anymore. So I think Games of Thrones was also quite censored because a lot of nudity, and the expats that were living here was very annoyed. It's like I paid for HBO, so why is this happening?
yeah,
Uh,
I want my nudity.
yeah, one nudity. But they aren't so bad now. They used to be very very stringent with all these kind of things. So slight improvement. I think not so bad. Uh, because I think the world is changing. If they keep on staying in what their norms were at that age, right? The young people are not going to accept it because the younger people is more open because of the internet and they are more well traveled as well. So it's not going to fly in 10 to 20 years time.
Mm.
That's quite interesting. So I love looking at how the Malaysians are succeeding in this aspect, because Singaporean films still stuck. We are still stuck with Jack Neo, and he still has a new movie out for Chinese New Year, which I don't want to say. I have lamented before on the state of Singapore films, so in another podcast. So I want to repeat, but quite sad that our Singapore films are not really doing very well. I mean, they are
Mm.
not very vibrant. There are some that are very arty that manages to get uh, awards, but it's not like a everyday, not a film that you will actually sit down to truly enjoy. Yeah. Uh, okay, I think we might wrap up in a few minutes or so. Just curious to find out if you have a dream project.
Wow. Not really, like, to be honest, no. I mean, I guess for really like dream project, I would eventually want to write and direct my own film, but maybe that would be a long way away into the future.
Mm, mm. And do you have any upcoming stuff that you want to let everyone know about that we can look
No,
forward to?
not really. I mean, like what I'm doing right now is actually I'm in the midst of creating an online vocal
Ah,
expression.
okay.
So that's what I'm busy with. But other than that, honestly, I don't really have anything at the moment.
Oh, so what was this online vocal thing more about? Can you tell me more?
It's a course for voiceovers for people who are interested in doing voiceovers. It kind of guides them through uh, beginning and right till the end of like so basic and advanced techniques as well.
Okay, and where can people go for
I
this?
hope to put it on Udemy. So and then you can, I guess I'll be announcing it on my Instagram page
Ah,
once I'm done creating it, which hopefully should be in about 2 weeks.
okay. So those who are interested in voice acting, just look out for the announcement on Grace's Instagram. And
Yes.
yes, and I'm just gonna put Instagram here in case you need to follow her. Grace Infant Faven.
Yeah.
You will see that there. And okay, so thanks for everyone who have joined us today. Jonathan, Api, and maybe those mysterious ones hiding, hiding just lurking that I can't see because you haven't commented. But anyway, thanks for joining us, and thanks Grace for doing this, an hour or so of your time on a Saturday afternoon.
Thank you so
Hold on,
much.
yeah, hold on while I do an outro and
Okay,
let
sure.
everybody know what's gonna be happening in the next couple of months, I guess. Hold on.
Okay.
Um, so I had when I was in Singapore Comic Con, I actually connected with a couple of interesting people and proposed to them if that they would be my guests for Live with Red Dot Diva in 2024. And a few of them said, yes, why not? So after today's session, I usually do this Live with Red Dot Diva maybe once in 2 months. So the next one will most probably in March. And once I've confirmed who the March guests will be, look out for the announcements as well on all my social media. I'm on Facebook, on X, and I think that's where you'll see most of my announcements. YouTube is mainly for videos and the live stream. So you'll see it on X. You see, I think I'm on Threads as well. Yes, Threads, X, and Facebook, and you'll see who the announced guest will be for March 2024. It's usually the last Saturday of the month, unless the guests are not able to make it, and then we'll try to find a suitable slot for them to be able to join me for another interesting discussion on a Saturday afternoon, and bring Grace back in again. We're going to say goodbye to you, and please connect with Grace on her Instagram so that you can find out more about her next adventures as an actor. And thank you, everyone. See you again next time.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Tina.
Bye.